Hurricane Katrina 2005. Part 1. The birth and buildup of Hurricane Katrina, August 23, 2005. Somewhere over the warm, glassy waters east of the Bahamas, a low-pressure system begins to spin. It's just a smudge on the satellite at first. No one pays much attention. No one imagines that, in less than 72 hours, this smudge will become one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. Its name, Katrina. At the National Hurricane Center in Miami, meteorologists lean into glowing screens. GOES 12. Satellite imagery shows a tightening swirl, 200 miles wide, sucking energy from sea surface temperatures pushing 86-degree low wind shear, falling pressure, perfect breeding conditions. "This thing is organizing fast," one forecaster mutters into his headset, August 24th. Katrina is officially classified as a tropical storm. Sustained winds, 40 miles per hour. August 25th. It slams into South Florida as a Category 1 hurricane. Gusts to 80 mph torrential rain, 11 dead, $1 billion in damage. But this is just the warm-up act. Sound, wind howling, rain lashing tin roofs, a transformer exploding. As Katrina crosses the Florida peninsula and emerges into the Gulf of Mexico, it enters what experts call the hyperfuel zone. Deep, warm water, minimal wind shear. The storm explodes. August 26th, Category 3, August 27th, Category 4, August 28th, Category 5, peak winds, 175 miles per hour. Central pressure, 902 millibars, the fourth lowest on record for an Atlantic hurricane. It's a monster, CNN anchor Anderson Cooper says live on air. Satellite loop.a. Near-perfect pinwheel of death, 20 miles wide. Cloud. Tops, 50,000 feet. Punching into the stratosphere. The storm's outer bands, already lashing oil rigs 200 miles. Offshore, back in Louisiana, people start to listen. Some chuckle. "We've seen worse." Remember Betsy? Camille? But the scientists? They are not laughing. They know Katrina is tracking dead-on toward New Orleans, a city that sits in a bowl 6 to 10 feet below sea level, protected only by 350 miles of levees and flood walls built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers since the 1960s. If the levees fail, one engineer warns in a closed-door briefing, it's game over. Sunday, August 28th, the day before landfall. Mayor Ray Nagin stands at a podium, voice cracking. This is the first mandatory evacuation in the history of New Orleans. Leave now. 3 million people hit the roads. I-10. West becomes a parking lot. I-59. North, bumper to bumper for 100 miles. Gas stations run dry. Hotels from Texas to Tennessee fill up, but tens of thousands stay behind. Some can't afford to leave. Some are too old, too sick. Some believe the storm will veer east, like so many before. Sound, traffic horns, evacuation alerts on car radios, a mother comforting a crying child on the Louisiana coast. Shrimpers pull their boats high onto levees. Oil workers evacuate platforms in the Gulf. National Guard units mobilize. FEMA pre-positions supplies, but not nearly enough. At 11:00 p.m., the National Hurricane Center issues its final advisory before landfall. Catastrophic damage is expected. Life-threatening inundation. Storm surge 18 to 22 feet above normal tide levels. In the French Quarter, jazz musicians play one last set. In the lower Ninth Ward, grandmothers pack photo albums into plastic bags. On Lake Pontchartrain, the water is already choppy, restless. Sound, a lone trumpet playing, "Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans?" Slow, mournful, Katrina is no longer a storm. It is a force of nature, ancient, indifferent, and unstoppable. It is coming. And New Orleans, the city that care forgot, is about to be remembered by the world. Wind rising, radar ping accelerating. Part 2. The Path and Landfall. Katrina makes land. No AA weather radio voice. Rising wind, distant thunder, Doppler radar sweep. Sunday night, August 28, 2005. The National Hurricane Center in Miami issues its 11 p.m. advisory, the last before landfall. The words are clinical, but the tone is grave. Hurricane Katrina, an extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane, is expected to make landfall along the northern Gulf Coast early Monday morning. Devastating damage expected. On the forecast cone, the bullseye sits squarely over southeast Louisiana. New Orleans is dead center. Sound printer spitting out forecast track, frantic phone calls in background. The final hours before impact midnight. Katrina's eye, a 20-mile-wide void of eerie calm, is 120 miles south-southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi. River-sustained winds 175 mph. Gusts 215 mph. Storm surge. Forecast 18 to 22 feet, locally up to 28 feet. Sound. Wind screaming across open water. Buoys clanging. Oil rigs in the Gulf are evacuated. Shell, Chevron, Exxon. 10,000 workers airlifted by helicopter. 80% of Gulf oil production shuts down. 20% of U.S. refining capacity goes offline. On Grand Isle, Louisiana's Barrier Island, Coast Guard crews board up the station. Waves already crashing over the seawall. The island's 2,500 residents are gone. Mandatory evacuation 48 hours earlier. 10 a.m. Monday, August 29th. First landfall Bureau's triumph. Plaquemines Parish population under $1,000 elevation, 3 feet above sea level. Katrina's northern eye wall slams ashore. Sustained winds 125 mph, now Category 3, but still catastrophic. Storm surge, 20-plus feet. Sound, freight train roar, metal tearing, trees snapping like matchsticks. The surge doesn't arrive as a wave. It arrives as a wall of water, brown, churning, unstoppable. Homes on stilts are ripped from pilings. Shrimp boats are thrown 200 yards inland. The Plaquemines Parish Courthouse, built in 1906, loses its roof. Highway 23, the only road in or out, is under 15 feet of water. It sounded like the world was ending, survivor Rita Benson later recalls. Then the water came through the walls like a fire hose. No AA buoy, 420-40. 40 miles offshore records a wave height of 55 feet, the highest ever measured in the Gulf. AM, the eye passes over. Boris 4:30 surreal minutes. The wind drops to near calm. Blue sky appears overhead. Birds fly in circles. Confused, then the southern eye wall arrives. Winds reverse, destruction resumes. Sound, sudden silence. Then wind howling from the opposite direction. Second landfall, Mississippi, Coast Bay, St. Louis. Mississippi. Katrina's center crosses the coast. Storm surge, 27.8 feet, highest on record for the U.S. Gulf Coast. Sound, ocean roar, buildings collapsing, casino barges scraping pavement. Biloxi's floating casinos, 13 of them, are lifted off their moorings and slammed into Highway 90. The Biloxi Ocean Springs Bridge, 1.5 miles long, loses 60% of its spans. Waveland, Mississippi, 90% of structures destroyed. One resident, there's nothing left but slabs and memories. Hancock County emergency. Operations Center loses power. Calls go unanswered. First responders become victims. AM, New Orleans, the wind. But not yet the flood French Quarter. Winds gust to 100 mph. Roof tiles rain down like shrapnel. The Superdome's roof, 2 Gore-Tex panels, rip open, exposing 10,000 evacuees to rain. Lower Ninth Ward. Power lines spark. Trees crash into homes. Windows shatter, but the levees hold. For now. We made it through the hurricane, a resident tells a TV. Crew, now we just wait for the water to go down. The storm surge reaches Lake Pontchartrain Lake. Bourne, a shallow lagoon east of New Orleans, funnels. The surge westward. Water levels rise 12 feet in 2 hours. The Mississippi River Gulf Outlet, MRGO, a 76-mile shipping channel nicknamed Hurricane Highway, acts like a funnel, amplifying the surge into St. Bernard Parish. Sound. Water rushing through a narrow channel. Levee creaking. 10. I'm the St. Bernard Parish. Levee. Overtopped. Water pours into Araby and Chalmette. Oil storage tanks rupture. 1 million. Gallons of crude spill into neighborhoods. The calm before the true catastrophe. By noon, Katrina is inland, weakening to a Category 1 over Mississippi. Winds drop, rain tapers, New Orleans breathes. CNN headline, New Orleans dodges direct hit, but under the surface the levees are failing. Sound, distant rumble, like a dam giving way. Part 2 ends on a knife's edge. The wind has passed. The real killer, the flood, is just beginning. Water gurgling, a single church bell tolling. Part 3, the flood, New Orleans drowns. Monday, August 29, 2005, 7 a.m. New Orleans, Louisiana. The eye of the hurricane is already 60 miles north, racing into Mississippi. Winds are down to 70 miles per hour. The sky is gray but calm. On Canal Street, a streetcar lies on its side. But the French Quarter still stands. People start peeking out, flashing cautious smiles. We made it, a bartender tells a CNN crew. The big one missed us. They were wrong, dead wrong. 7 a.m. The first breach, 17th Street, Canal Lakeview. Wealthy, white, 6 feet below sea level. The 17th Street Canal levee, a concrete eye wall on an earthen berm, gives way, not a crack, not a leak, a catastrophic rupture. Eyewitness, recorded 2010. I heard a sound like a bomb. Then the ground shook. I ran to the window and saw a wall of water 15 feet high coming straight at my house. It wasn't a wave. It was the whole damn lake. Water velocity, 40 miles an hour. Flow rate, 100,000 cubic feet per second, equal to Niagara Falls turned sideways. Homes on stilts snapped like toothpicks. Cars tumbled end over end. A 200-foot barge sucked through the breach and wedged in the neighborhood, blocking streets. 7:30 a.m., London Avenue Canal collapses gently, middle class, mostly African American. 2 breaches in the London Avenue Canal. Water rises 1 foot every 5 minutes. It came up through the floors, Pamela Bowden later testifies. First the carpet got wet. Then the furniture floated. Then we were on the kitchen counter. 8 a.m., Industrial Canal, East Breach Lower 9th Ward. Working class, 90% black. Average income, $23,000 a year. The Industrial Canal levee, a barge impact wall, is struck by a loose barge and collapses. Survivor Leroy Samuels, the water didn't come in. It exploded in. My house lifted off the foundation, spun 90 degrees, and slammed into my neighbor's. I was in the attic with my wife and dog when the roof peeled off. Water rise, 15 feet in 15 minutes. Entire blocks underwater in under an hour. Toxic soup. What was in the water? This was not clean water. This was liquid poison. Let me break it down. First, crude oil from more than 10 ruptured storage tanks, the kind that causes cancer and burns your lungs. Second, raw sewage from over 200 broken sewer lines carrying E. coli, hepatitis, and God knows what else. Third, heavy metals, arsenic, lead, leaching from old factories, attacking your brain, your nerves, your future. The EPA didn't call it floodwater. They called it more toxic than raw sewage. 8:30 a.m. The city becomes. A lake satellite imagery at 11:15 a.m. 80% of New Orleans underwater. Deepest point, 20 feet in Lakeview. Shallowest, 1 to 2 feet in the French Quarter, trapped on rooftops. The human cost more than 100,000 people didn't evacuate. Now they're stranded. Attics become death traps. Water rises faster than people can chop through roofs. Elderly in nursing homes left behind. St. Rita's nursing home, St. Bernard Parish. 35 residents drowned in their beds. Children passed hand to hand through broken skylights. Coast Guard rescue pilot Chad Watson. We'd hover over a roof. People waving T-shirts, holding babies up. You take the kids first, then the moms. Then you pray the rope holds for Grandpa. Some roofs had 20 people. You could only take 4. By noon, 1,200 people pulled up by helicopter, 500 more by boat. The Superdome, sanctuary turns, held 25,000 people inside. Roof peeled open. Rain pours like a waterfall. Toilets overflow within hours. No power, no AC, temperature 100 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity 90%. Food runs out by Monday night. Evacuee Denise Moore. We were told it was safe. Then the lights went out. Then the smell started. Then the fights. The second disaster. Systems collapse. Pumps fail. Over 100 pumping stations lose power. Communications collapse. 80% of cell towers down. 911 overload. 70,000 calls in 3 hours. 90% unanswered. Police radios die. Officers use hand signals and runners. NOPD officer, We were blind, deaf, and drowning. The sound of a city dying. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All that's left. Water lapping against second-story windows, helicopters thumping overhead, distant gunshots. Some real, some rumor, church bells ringing underwater. A lone trumpet on a rooftop playing Just a Closer Walk with Thee. The levee system, why it failed. The 2006 independent investigation report said, "Let me make it plain, no excuses. First flaw, eye wall design. Those concrete walls, they were never driven deep enough into the soft delta mud, like planting a fence post in wet sand. It wobbles, it falls, same here. Second, erosion underneath. Water didn't just go over the walls. It slipped beneath, like a thief under a door, washing away the dirt holding it up. One scoop at a time until, poof, everything collapsed. Third, poor maintenance. The Army Corps of Engineers had been warned, and since the 1990s, in report after report, meeting after meeting, but budgets were tight, priorities shifted, and the warnings filed away, ignored, and the final blow, the MRGO, the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet, a 76-mile shipping shortcut everyone called the Hurricane Highway. It acted like a giant funnel, compressing the surge and boosting it by 20 to 30%, straight into the heart of the city. Their conclusion? Cold clear, 2/3 of this flood didn't have to happen. The flood map, neighborhood by neighborhood. Now here's the part that still hurts. Same storm, different worlds. Lakeview, mostly white, upper middle class, water 12 to 15 feet deep. 90% of homes? Destroyed. Gentilly, mixed, working families, 8 to 12 feet. 70% unlivable. Lower Ninth Ward, 90% black. Average income $23,000 a year, 10 to 20 feet of water, 4,000 homes, gone, completely. And the French Quarter? Tourists sipping coffee in ankle-deep water, taking selfies with the cathedral the moment the city realizes 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mayor Ray Nagin on WWL radio, voice breaking. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 80% underwater. This is not a drill. This is the nightmare. Part 3 ends with New Orleans transformed. From America's most unique city to America's largest urban lake. The hurricane is over. The flood has just begun, and it will not recede for weeks. Part 4. The human toll. Death, chaos, and the Superdome Inferno Monday night, August 29, 2005. The sun has set on a city 80% underwater. The hurricane is gone, but death has only just begun to count its victims. The death toll begins by Tuesday morning. The official count is 0. By Friday, it will be 1,833. Most in Louisiana, most by drowning, but the real number will never be known. Bodies float face down in attics. Some are swept into the Gulf, others burned in. House fires when gas lines ignite. Many simply vanish. The elderly, left behind Ethel Freeman, 91 years old, wheelchair-bound, evacuated to the Superdome with her son. By Wednesday, she's dead in her chair outside the arena, her body covered with a blanket. Left for 4 days in the 100-degree heat. Her son begs for help. No one comes. They just forgot her, he sobs to a reporter, like she was trash. St. Rita's Nursing Home. St. Bernard Parish, 35 residents, all elderly, all immobile, drown in their beds. The owners refused to evacuate, believing the building was safe. They are later charged with negligent homicide. Memorial Hospital. The Mercy Killings Memorial Medical Center. Uptown, power out, generators fail. Temperature inside, 110 degrees. Patients on ventilators begin to die. Doctors face an impossible choice. Dr. Anna Poo recorded years later. We had morphine. We had no way out. We couldn't let them suffer. 4 patients, all critically ill, are injected with lethal doses. The state investigates. No charges are filed. The case splits the nation. Mercy or murder? The Superdome. 25,000 souls in hell designed for football games, not refugees. 25,000 people cram inside. No plan, no supplies, no escape. Roof torn open. Rain pours in like a monsoon. Toilets overflow within 6 hours. Human waste floods the concourse. No lights, no AC, 100 degrees, 90% humidity. 1 doctor, 1 nurse, no medicine. Food, 2 MREs per person, gone by Tuesday. Water, 1 bottle per day, gone by Wednesday. Evacuee Denise Moore, voice cracking, we were told it was safe. Then the lights went out. Then the smell hit. Then the fight started. I held my baby and prayed the roof wouldn't cave. Rape, robbery, suicide. Reports flood the airwaves, some true, some rumor, all amplified by fear. Convention Center, the Forgotten. 20,000. Across town, 20,000 more gather at the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center. They were told buses were coming. No buses ever arrived. No food, no water, no security. Bodies lie in the open, covered with sheets, flies buzzing. Children faint from dehydration. Elderly collapse in the heat. We are dying here, a mother screams into a CNN camera. Where is the help? FEMA doesn't even know they exist until Thursday. The Cajun Navy, heroes in flatboats. While the government fails, the people rise, duck hunters, shrimpers, weekend fishermen. They launch flat-bottom boats into the flood. No orders, no pay, just neighbors saving neighbors. Cajun Navy founder Todd Terrell. We didn't wait for permission. We saw people on roofs. We went. By week's end, they rescue over 10,000, more than all federal agencies combined. The evacuation. Too little, too late. Wednesday, August 31st, President Bush flies over in Air Force One, 3,000 feet up. He sees the flood. He does not land. Thursday, September 1st, National Guard finally arrives in force. Buses roll in. 70,000 people are moved to shelters in Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, but thousands refuse to leave. They fear looting. They fear abandonment. They fear never coming home. This is my city, one man says, clutching a shotgun. I ain't leaving. The smell of death by Friday. The stench is unbearable. Decomposition, sewage, rotting food, dead animals, dead people. Coast Guard Admiral Thad Allen taking command. This is not a rescue operation anymore. This is a recovery operation. The final count. By the numbers in story. Let me paint the grim math in human terms. 1,833 official deaths. That's one life every 4 minutes for the first 5 days. 1 million people displaced. The largest diaspora since the Dust Bowl. 250,000 homes destroyed. 1 in 4 in the metro area. 80% of the city underwater. An area the size of Manhattan, 10 times over. The faces behind the numbers: Leroy Samuels lost his wife, his dog, his home. Ethel Freeman died waiting for help that never came. Dr. Anna Pooh, still haunted by the syringe in her hand. Denise Moore held her baby through the night, whispering, "We're gonna make it." They are not statistics. They are New Orleans. Part 4 ends in the dark heart of the crisis. The city is broken. The people are shattered. But in the flats, boats. In the helicopter rescues. In the arms of strangers, hope flickers. The worst is over. The hardest is yet to come. Part 5. The price tag, dollars, jobs, and a city on life support. September 2005. The water is still knee-deep in the lower 9th Ward. But the bills, they're already taller than the levees ever stood. Let me walk you through what Katrina really cost, not in headlines, but in lives, paychecks, and futures. The final invoice, $125 billion. That's the official tab. 125 billion. Say it slow. 125 billion. In today's money, over 200 billion to put it in your pocket. 9/11 cost 40 billion. Hurricane Andrew in 92, 50 billion. Every U.S. natural disaster before Katrina combined, still less than Katrina alone. Economist Mark Zandi, 2006, voice flat. This wasn't a storm. This was an economic heart attack. The port. America's artery shut down port of New Orleans. Number 1 in coffee, rubber, steel. Handles 1 out of every 5 exports in the country. Closed for 2 weeks. 0 ships. 0 cargo. 0 paychecks. Grain elevators stuffed to the brim, corn rots in the sun. Coffee beans turned to mold. $100 million up in smoke. Supply chains from Detroit to Dallas grind to a halt. Oil and gas. Black gold turns to red in 80% of Gulf oil production offline. 20% of U.S. refining capacity gone. Gas prices spiked to $5 a gallon nationwide. 11 oil rigs destroyed. 7 million gallons of crude leak into the marshes. A black tide that will kill wildlife for decades. Shrimper John Blanchard, voice hoarse from shouting over engines. I lost my boat. My brother lost his. The water's still got oil in it. My grandkids won't shrimp here again. Jobs. 230,000 paychecks vanish, 1 in 5 workers in Metro. New Orleans unemployed by October. Let me paint it in human colors. 80,000 tourism jobs. Bourbon. Street bartenders sleep in their own bars, tipping jars empty. 35,000 seafood workers. Shrimpers sell boats for scrap. Nets rot on docks. 25,000 oil and gas roughnecks. Line up at food banks in steel-toe boots. 30,000 construction workers. Now gutting their own homes with crowbars and tears. Housing, a city without home. 200,000 homes destroyed, another 200,000 damaged. FEMA trailers become suburbs, rows of white boxes in parking lots, no yards, no shade. Rent doubles overnight in Baton Rouge. Mortgages underwater. Literally. Homeowner Gloria Jones crying on NPR, "My house is gone. My job is gone. My insurance won't pay. I'm living in my car with my cat in a photo album." The Exodus. Population collapse peak. Population in Watanabe. 2,484. 2006. 230,000. That's a 52% drop, the largest urban exodus since the Civil War. Houston takes in 250,000. The Astrodome becomes a city. Atlanta, Baton Rouge, Dallas, tent cities and parking lots. Children change schools 3 times in a year. The environment. A toxic legacy 7 million gallons of oil, 230,000 tons of debris, 118 million cubic yards of mud, enough to fill the Empire State Building 100 times. Arsenic lead, benzene in the soil, cancer clusters years later. Wetlands, nature's speed bump, gone forever. Fish kills stretch 100 miles into the Gulf. EPA scientist 2007, voice tired. We didn't clean a city. We cleaned a chemical spill with houses in it. The mold apocalypse. 46% of flooded homes grow black mold within 2 weeks. Asthma rates triple. Katrina cough becomes a medical term. Contractors in hazmat suits gut homes with chainsaws and prayers. The insurance nightmare flood is not wind. Homeowners' policies cover wind. Flood policies are separate and rare. 90% of the lower Ninth Ward had no flood insurance. Insurance companies send adjusters in boats, deny claims with fine print. Adjuster, caught on hidden camera. If I can find one shingle out of place, I call it wind. Wind's covered. Flood? Not my problem. The long-term math in human terms. Population. From 484,000 to 343,000 by 2010. 141,000 souls missing. Poverty rate. From 23% to 27%, kids in trailers. Median income from 43,000 to 38,000, a decade lost. Schools open. From 126 to 85, charters replace public. The brain drain doctors, teachers, musicians, they don't come back. Jazz clubs stay dark. Mardi Gras 2006 happens. But with half the bands. Trumpeter Kermit Ruffins on a gutted porch. I played second line for funerals. Now I play for a city that's half dead. The silver lining? 0. Not yet. The only upside is survival. But in the FEMA trailer parks, in the gutted homes, in the lines at food banks, people start to plan. Contractor Mike Davis, sawdust in his beard. We lost everything. But we still got each other. That's the only asset left. Part 5 ends with a city on life support. 125 billion in the red. 230,000 jobs gone, half its people scattered. The water will recede, the damage will not. Part 6. The response. Government fails, people rise. Tuesday, August 30th, 2005, 48 hours after. Landfall. The city is 80%. Underwater. 25,000 people are trapped in the superdomed 20,000. More at the convention center. And Washington? Still figuring out who's in charge. The White House. Nobody anticipated President George W. Bush. On vacation in Crawford, Texas. Tuesday morning, he's strumming a guitar at a political fundraiser. Wednesday, He flies over New Orleans in Air Force One, 3,000 feet up. He does not land. Bush, live on ABC, voice calm. I don't think anybody anticipated the breach of the levees. The room explodes. Engineers had warned for decades. FEMA had run a drill called Hurricane Pam. The year before, predicted exactly this. 1,000 dead in the simulation, 1 million displaced, levees failing, but the report gathered dust. FEMA. Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. Michael Brown, FEMA director, no disaster experience, former horse show judge. Tuesday, he's still in Baton Rouge, 90 miles away. Wednesday, he tells CNN the Superdome is fine, doesn't know it's already out of food. Thursday, he learns about the convention center from a reporter, not his own team. Bush, on camera, clapping Brown on the shoulder. Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. The phrase becomes a national punchline. The chain of command. Nobody's home Governor Kathleen Blanco, Louisiana, begs for federal troops. Mayor Ray Nagin screams on radio, "Get off your asses!" Pentagon waits for written request. Coast Guard acts without orders, saves 33,000 lives. Coast Guard Admiral Thad Allen taking over Friday. This is no longer a rescue. This is war. The Cajun Navy, 10,000 boats, zero bureaucracy, while Washington debates, Louisiana acts. Duck hunters in pirogues, shrimpers in 26-foot Lafitte's, weekend fishermen in base boats. They launch from I-10 overpasses, highway medians, Walmart parking lots. Cajun Navy founder Todd Terrell, engine roaring. We didn't wait for permission. We saw people on roofs. We went. No red tape, no forms, just a rope, a motor, and a prayer. By week's end, they rescue over 10,000, more than all federal agencies combined. The Coast Guard, heroes in orange H-65. Dolphin helicopters fly 24/7, no sleep, no fuel gauges. They guess. Hoist 12,000 people from rooftops. Fly with doors open in 110-degree heat. One pilot, Lieutenant Chad Watson, logs 27 hours in 36. Watson, voice hoarse. You see a baby in arms. You take the baby. You come back for Mom. You pray the fuel holds. The world responds. 95 countries offer help. Canada sends 1,000 troops, 3 warships. Mexico, 200 trucks of food, water, medicine. Cuba offers 2,500 doctors, turned away. Russia, 4 cargo planes, accepted. Singapore, 3 Chinook helicopters. The National Guard. Finally, Thursday, 50,000 troops roll in. Humvees on I-10, Blackhawks overhead, MREs airdropped, but 4 days late. 4,000 lives already gone. Guard Sergeant Major boots splashing. We should have been here Monday. We got here Friday. That's blood on paper. The Superdome evacuation. A human funnel Thursday night. Buses finally arrive. 4:75. Greyhounds. 25,000 people funnel through one door. No lists, no destinations. Just get on. Families separated. Pets left behind. Howls echo in the dome. Elderly carried on stretchers. Mother clutching child. They said Houston. Then Dallas. Then who knows? I just want my baby to sleep in a bed. The Convention Center. We are dying here. Friday, CNN finally broadcasts from the Convention Center. Anderson Cooper, waist-deep in filth, screams at FEMA. "Cooper, live! There are dead bodies on the ground, children with no water. Where is the help?" 6 hours later, buses arrive. The pumping begins, 43 days to drain September. One Army Corps fires up portable pumps, 380 cubic meters per second, enough to fill an Olympic pool every 7 seconds, but the city is a bowl. Water has nowhere to go. Days until the last puddle dries. The blame game. Katrina Gate congressional hearings. FEMA. Scapegoated. Corps of Engineers roasted. Bush. Approval rating tanks to 38%. Senator Mary Landrieu, voice shaking. This was preventable. This was criminal negligence. The people who stepped up while governments failed, ordinary people rose. Musicians Without Borders, jazz funerals for the dead. Habitat for Humanity, 100,000 volunteers by 2007. Church ladies in Baton Rouge cook 10,000 meals a day. Volunteer chef Miss Linda, apron stained. We don't need a plan. We need pots. Part 6 ends with a nation shamed and a people unbroken. The government was late. The people were on time. The water will drain. The trust will not. End of Part 6. Part 7. The Rebirth. Mud, Muscle, and Mardi Gras, October 2005. The last puddle finally dries on Claiborne Avenue. The city smells of mold, diesel, and defiance. New Orleans is not back, but it is breathing. The gutting, 100,000 homes. One by one, step 1. Rip it to the studs. Volunteers in Tyvek suits. Respirators, boots caked in mud. Chainsaws scream, drywall rains like snow. Mold is Black Death on walls. 46% of flooded homes infected. FEMA X spray painted on doors, condemned. Do not enter. Families return to nothing but a slab, and still salvage a photo, a Bible, a child's toy. Homeowner Miss Lorraine, voice cracking. I found my wedding dress in the rafters, still white. That's when I knew we'd make it. The Trailer Towns. Suburbs of white boxes. FEMA delivers 120,000 trailers, rows of identical white rectangles, no yards, no trees, no soul. Formaldehyde fumes, Katrina cough becomes Katrina headache. Power flickers, 1 AC unit per trailer, 110 degrees inside. Kids play hopscotch on asphalt. 8-year-old Jamal, chalk in hand. My house is a box, but it's our box. The levee upgrade. $14.5 billion of concrete and Willermy Corps gets unlimited budget. First time in history. Walls raised to 30 feet. Floodgates the size of aircraft hangars. Pump stations that can empty an Olympic pool in 7 seconds. 1,000-year storm protection. Not perfect, but damn close. Corps engineer, hard hat in hand. We failed you once. We will not fail you again. Houston refugees trickle back. Baton Rouge becomes temporary. Musicians return for 1 gig, stay for a lifetime. Trumpeter Shamar Allen on a gutted porch. I left with my horn. I came back with my soul. Mardi Gras 2006. We're still here. February 28, 2006. 6 months to the day. Crew of Zulu rolls down St. Charles. Crew of Rex follows. Half the floats. double the heart. Costumes made from FEMA tarps. Throws, canned goods, beads, hope. Crowds chant, "Who dat? We dat." Mayor Ray Nagin, voice hoarse. If you can throw a parade in a war zone, you can rebuild a city. The schools, from ruins to charters. 26 public schools. 4 open in 2005. Charter revolution begins. Teach for America floods in. 1,000 teachers. Recovery School District. First all-charter system. Graduation rates climb from 55% to 78% by 2015. Principal Keisha, chalk dust on fingers. We lost buildings, we kept the kids. The wetlands, planting mud with future 217 square miles of marsh gone. Restoration begins. Oyster reefs, natural breakwaters. Cypress seedlings, 1 million planted, 6 billion annual value in storm protection. Coastal scientist, knee-deep in mud. Every acre we save is 1 less foot of surge next time. The culture, jazz, gumbo. Second line, Stipatina's reopens with a benefit. Snug Harbor hosts free shows. Second lines snake through gutted streets. Brass bands leading, strangers dancing. Trombonist Big Sam, sweat flying. Music didn't drown, it floated, the new. New Orleans, scars and all population 390,000 by 2020, 80% of pre-storm. Poverty still 27%, but falling. Tourism, 19 million visitors in 2019, record. Crime drops, tougher policing, community trust. Entrepreneurs, food trucks, tech startups, Airbnb empires. Resilience becomes the city brand. Chef Leah Chase, ladle in hand. We cook with love and memory. That's how you rebuild a soul. The unspoken victory, no mass exodus. No ghost town, no surrender. Contractor Mike Davis, sawdust in beard, 2010. They said we'd be Detroit. We said hold my beer. Part 7 ends with a city scarred but standing, levees higher, music louder, people tougher. The water is gone. The spirit never left. End of Part 7. Part 8. The Lessons. 17 Warnings. We finally heard March 2006. The water is gone. The bodies are counted. And Washington finally asks, how the hell did this happen? The official autopsy. 17 Lessons in Blood and Concretia Bipartisan Senate Committee delivers 605 pages. 17 core failures. Let me give them to you plain. No jargon, no excuses. Lesson 1. No one was in charge. FEMA, Pentagon, Governor, Mayor. 4 leaders, 0 chain of command. Every 2 hours lost to phone tag. Senator Susan Collins, voice sharp. We had 4 quarterbacks and no playbook. Lesson 2. Evacuation left the poor behind. 100,000 people had no car, no cash, no way out. Mandatory evacuation meant good luck. Evacuee Denise Moore still angry. They said leave. I said with what? Lesson 3. Levees were a LICOR of engineers built to a 100-year standard, but ignored sinking soil, ignored rising seas, ignored their own warnings. Engineer whistleblower, 2004 memo. These walls will fail in a Category 3. We are building a disaster. Lesson 4. Communications died first, 80% of cell towers down. 911 overloaded. Police radios dead. Rumor became fact. NOPD dispatch tape. Snipers at the dome. Babies being raped. All false. All lethal. Lesson 5. The special needs were forgotten hospitals. Nursing homes, disabled, no plan, no buses, no generators. Elderly drowned at St. Rita's Memorial Hospital. Doctors made life-or-death choices with morphine. Dr. Anna Poo, we were abandoned. Lesson 6. Supplies were a myth. FEMA pre-positioned. 1,000 trucks of water. Never left the warehouse. MREs. Expired in 2003. ICE. Sent to Maine by mistake. Lesson 7. The Cajun Navy saved more than ew. FEMA 10,000 private boats rescued more lives than all federal agencies combined. Cajun, Navy captain. We didn't need a permit to save a life. Lesson. Race and class decided who lived lower ninth. Ward, 90% black, poor, 100% flooded. Lakeview, wealthy, white, got pumps first. Resident Leroy Samuels. Same storm. Different America. Lesson 9. The media amplified chaos rape at the Dome. Snipers, babies in trash cans, all debunked. But the damage was done. Anderson Cooper, 10 years later. We reported fear, not facts. Lesson 10. Wetlands are walls, 217 square miles of marsh, nature's speed bump, gone to oil canals and erosion. Every acre lost, 1 foot more surge. Lesson 11. Hospitals must float post. Katrina rule. All new hospitals must have upper floors above flood level. Generators on roofs, helipads. Lesson 12. Schools can be charters. 26 public schools, 4 open. Charter revolution born in the flood. Graduation rates, 55%, 78%. Lesson 13. Pumps need power. 120 pumping stations lost electricity. New rule. Every pump gets backup generators, fuel for 7 days, satellite phones. Lesson 14. Evacuation must include pets. 50,000 pets abandoned. New law. Pets Act. FEMA must plan for animals. Lesson 15. The poor need cash, not vouchers, debit cards given out, $2,000 per family. No ID required. Fraud? Yes. But speed saved lives. Lesson 16. Resilience is local. Federal help was late. Neighbors were on time. Volunteer chef Miss Linda. We fed 10,000 people a day with church pots and love. Lesson 17. Climate change is here. Sea level rise. Stronger storms. Katrina was a warning shot. No AA scientist, 2006. This will happen again. And worse, the unlearned lesson on quality kills. The poor drowned first. The rich rebuilt first. 20 years later, poverty still predicts flood risk. Community organizer Trupania Bonner. We fixed the walls. We didn't fix the wealth. Part 8 ends with 17 scars and 17 promises, some kept, some broken, all etched in concrete, law, and memory. The next storm is coming. The question is not if. The question is when. And who will be ready? End of Part 8. Part 9. The Legacy. 20 years later, still marching in. August 29, 2025, 20 years to the day. The levees stand taller. The music plays louder. And New Orleans, scarred, shrunken, unbreakable, still dances on its own grave. the city today by the numbers. In human terms, population, 390,000, 80% of pre-storm. Not full, but alive. Poverty, 23%, down from 27%, still too high. But moving tourism, 19 million visitors in 2024, record. They come for jazz, gumbo, and the story. Crime, murder rate halved since 2005. Tougher policing. Stronger neighborhoods. Schools, 90% charter. Graduation rate 80% from Ashes, a national model. Mayor LaToya Cantrell, 2025 speech. We didn't just rebuild, we reimagined. The Levee Monument, $14.5 billion of concrete and memory, 100 miles of new walls, 30 feet high, floodgates that close like castle doors, pump stations that roar like jet engines, 1,000-year storm protection, not perfect, but damn close, wetlands restored, 30 square miles, oysters, cypress, marsh grass. Annual benefit, $6 billion in storm damage prevented. Corps engineer, hand on new wall. This isn't concrete. This is apology. The culture, still the soul of America. Mardi Gras 2025, crew of red beans, rolls with canned goods for food banks. Crew of muses throws hand-painted shoes. Zulu and Rex, full strength. Jazz Fest, 150,000 people dance in the mud. Same field that was a refugee camp. Second lines, every Sunday, brass bands lead strangers through the lower ninth. Kids on bikes, grandmas with parasols, tourists trying to keep up. Trombonist Troy, trombone shorty Andrews. We don't play for the city. We play as the city. The lower ninth, from Ghost Town to Garden 2005. 100% flooded, 4,000 homes gone. 2025, Brad Pitt's Make It Right homes, solar-powered. Elevated dot community gardens where slabs once sat. Lower Ninth Ward Living Museum tells the story in survivors' voices. Resident Vanessa, tending tomatoes. We plant food where we once planted grief. The unspoken heroes, still here, Cajun Navy, national model, now trains volunteers in 20 states, musicians' clinics, free health care for artists, Katrina refrigerators, art installations, still on porches, still telling jokes, artist Dr. Bob, paintbrush in hand. We turned trash into testimony. The warning. Ida. 2021 to August 29, 2021. 16 years to the day. Hurricane Ida hits as Category 4. 175 mph winds. Storm surge 14 feet. Result? 0 levee breaches. 0 citywide flooding. 13 deaths. Tragic, but not 1-800. No AA meteorologist. Katrina taught us. Ida proved it. The global echo, Katrina changed disaster policy. Worldwide. Japan. Elevated hospitals after 2011. Tsunami Netherlands adopted U.S. levee standards. Bangladesh. Cajun Navy model for Cyclone Rescues.UN disaster chief. 25. New Orleans didn't just survive. It exported survival. The final march, August 29th, 2025, 6:10 a.m. Exact time of landfall 20 years ago. 1,133 seconds of silence at Levee Exhibit Hall. 1 second per life, then, second line from Lower Ninth to French Quarter. 10,000 people. Brass bands. White handkerchiefs. One chant, we bend. We don't break. Grand Marshal Kermit Ruffin's trumpet high. This ain't a funeral. This is a resurrection. The last word. From the city that cared. New Orleans is smaller, poorer, angrier, prouder. It lost half its people. It kept all its soul, elder on porch, rocking slow. They said we'd be gone. We said, hold my rue. Part 9 ends with New Orleans. Not the same, but still marching in, 20 years after the flood, still teaching the world how to rise. End of Part 9, end of series.